Welcome to Unit 6.7, Factoring Trinomials of the form x squared plus bx plus c. That means no coefficient in front of the x. Alright, it's a whole different thing if you have a coefficient in front of the x. But because there's no coefficient here, it's simpler. Alright, so start by looking at the warm-up. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do the warm-up before I show you the answers. Combine your like terms. How'd you do? If you can't do this, you're going to struggle with this. If you can't do this, go back to 6.6, watch the video, look over your notes. Alright, let's see what this looks like. To factor a trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c, you must find two integers, numbers, not decimals, not fractions, numbers, that add up to b and multiply to c. Alright, so you're going to start here because there's a lot more options here. Find two numbers, multiply together to get you C, and then figure out which two, when added together, will give you B. Alright, so x squared plus 7x plus 12. I need two numbers that multiply to give me 12. This is your C. So my numbers for 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 4 and 3. Right? All of these will multiply to give me 12. Now I need to add them together to figure out which one will give me B, 7. This added together will give me 13. This added together will give me 8. This will give me 7. This is my two numbers. Now that I know that my numbers are 4 and 3, I just have to write them with the variable. One of them needs to be positive. Well, to add them together to get 7, they both have to be positive. So in this case, both of them are positive. If you're not sure if you're right, distribute it. Prove your work. X squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12 gives you x squared plus 7x plus 12. Proof that this is the right answer. Two numbers that multiply to give me C and add together to give me B. And they both have to be positive in order to equal this. Two numbers to give me 20. That add up to give me positive 9. And they both have to be positive to give me a positive 9 and a positive 20. That's it. That's all you got to do. Two numbers to give me 24. And then add together to give me 10. So a plus 4, a plus 6. That's it. Now, be careful, this one's a negative 18, so I need two numbers that will give me negative 18, right? So what would give me negative 18? 1 times 18, one of them has to be negative, right? So I can either do 1 times 18 with the 1 negative or the 18 negative. I can do 2 times 9, 2, there we go. One of them has to be negative because it have to give me negative 18. Or I could do negative 3 times 6, or 3 times negative 6, but I have to get negative 18. Now I have to find one that will end up with a positive 3. Negative 7, no, positive 17, negative 17, positive 7, negative 7, positive 3, and negative 3. If I add these together, I get 17, right? If I add them together, I get negative 17, I get 7, I get negative 7, I get 3. I need it to be a positive 3, so this is my answer, right? And we're using n as our variable, so n minus 3, n plus 6. Negative 3, positive 6, that's my answer. Negative 3, positive 6. Negative again, so 1 times negative 6, negative 1 times 6, 2 times negative 3, negative 2 times 3. And they have to add together to give me the invisible positive 1. This one added together would give me negative 5. This would give me 5. This would give me negative 1. And this would give me 1. That means this one has to be the answer. Right, g is my variable. G minus 2, g plus 3. You can always redistribute to double check. G times g is g squared. G times positive 3 is plus 3g. Negative 2 times g is negative 2g. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Combine your like terms. 3 g's minus 2 g's is 1g, 1 positive g. You can always go back and make sure you have the right answer. Set 3. Ooh, both of these are negative. Be careful. Watch your negatives. Remember that this negative goes with that 3. Right? It's a negative 3. That term is negative 3. And this negative goes with the 2a. The term is negative 2a. Right? So I need two numbers multiplied to give me negative 3. These are my only two options. Right? And when I add them together, I need to get a negative 2. When I add these together, I get negative 2 for that one. And I get positive 2 for that one. That means this is your answer. A is my variable. A plus 1 because that's a positive 1. And A minus 3 because that's a negative 3. $63. 7 times 9. And we want them to be negative. Alright, and we want negative 2, so the negative is going to be the bigger number. This is going to give you negative 2, this is going to give you positive 2. That means this has to be the answer. B is our variable. We have a positive 7 and a negative 9. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I told you this is the simpler version. Enjoy it. Positive 24, negative 11. All right? 1 times 24. Now remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So if you want to end up with a positive when you multiply, you could use 2 negatives. Right? So it could be negative 1 times negative 24. Right? Or 2 times 12, negative 2 times negative 12. 3 times 8, negative 3 times negative 8. You get the idea, right? And now you need to find the one that when you add them together, you end up with negative 11. Negative 3 plus negative 8 is negative 11. That means this is your answer. My variable is x, and they're both negative. X minus 3, x minus 8. (72). 9 times 8. 9 times 8 is 72. So again, we might have a positive or a negative, and we need it to equal negative 17. So it's probably going to be negatives. Negative 9 times negative 8 gives you positive 72. But when you add them together, plus negative 8, you end up with negative 17. This is what we need, right? Both of them are negative. Y is our variable, just like that. And you can always redistribute to make sure you have the right answer. Mixed practice. So it might be positive, it might be negative. We need a negative 16 when we multiply the two numbers, and we need a positive 6 when we add the two numbers together. So to get negative 16, we can have 1 times negative 16. We're going to have negative 1 times 16. We can have 4 times negative 4. But when we add them together, we need to have a positive 6. Neither of those give us a 6. 2 times 8. I forgot 2 times 8.
I'm helping.
Yay! 2 times negative 8, or negative 2 times 8. But remember, when we add them together, we have to end up with a positive 6. That means this one's going to be your answer, because that equals positive 6. So A is our variable. I think there's 1, maybe 2 more. $40. What are my multiples of 40? And they're all positive. So 1 times 40, or they can either both be positive or both be negative to give you this positive 40, but they're both going to have to be positive to give you this positive 13. Just use your common sense. 2 times 20, that won't do it. 4 times 10, that's not going to do it. 5 times 8, 5 and 8 is 13. Right, so y is your variable. Both of them are positive. Negative, negative again. All right, so 1 times negative 30, negative 1 times 30, 5 times negative 6, negative 5 times 6, 3 times negative 10, negative 3 times 10, 15, 15 times negative 2, and negative 15 times 2. See, once you get to the point where you can do this part in your head, you don't even have to write it down. You just ask yourself, what are your multiples of 30? And then which of them added together will give you a negative invisible 1, negative 1. Right? So the negative 1 would come from this one, I would think. So n is my variable. We have a positive 5 and a negative 6. If you're unsure, distribute and check. All right, the last couple ask you to find the greatest common factor first, and then do what we just did in 6.7. All right, so first we have to find the greatest common factor, something they all have in common. There are 3 terms, they have to have something in common. The greatest common factor between 4, 12, and 8 is 4. They do not have a variable in common, so we can't do anything with that. But if we divide each term by 4 and pull out that 4, we're left with k squared plus 3k plus 2. So my multiples of 2 are 1 and 2. Well, that's easy enough. And they both have to be positive to give me a positive 2 and add up to 3. So k is our variable, plus 1, k plus 2. That's your answer. Distribute if you want to double check. I know, I've said that before. Don't judge me. Alright, common factor, they all have a 3. Let's take a 3 out of everyone. They do not have a variable in common. So if I take a 3 out, I'm left with y squared minus 5y plus 4. 4 times 1. But we need it to be negative 5. So it's negative 4 times negative 1. Because that equals a positive 4. And when you add them together, you get negative 5. Play with the signs. Figure out what's right. Y is our variable. We're going to have a negative 4 and a negative 1. Last one. At this point, you should pause it and attempt it on your own. Remember, in order to learn, you must watch and listen to the video, and you must attempt it on your own and find your mistakes. Hopefully you did that on a couple of these. Alright, common, they all have a 2. They can all have a 2 removed, and that would leave me with b squared plus 5b plus 6. 6 times 1. It's not going to work. We need it to be a positive 5. What are my other, to get to 6? 2 times 3 will give me 6, and 2 plus 3 will give me the 5. So, my brain said 6 times 1, but that's not the answer because we need it to also add up to 5. B is my variable. They're both positive. Feel free to rewind, watch it again. The evens are your responsibility. Do the quizzes self-check to make sure your evens are correct before you come get your mastery check.